Hello, my friends. So today we're going to start our new unit about the ocean. Today is just an overview of the different layers of the ocean, okay? So the Earth is made up of 71% water. What does that mean? It means that most of the world, most of Earth, is covered with water. I know, that's insane. And now we're talking lakes, rivers, streams, ponds, and especially the ocean. So the majority of the water is found in the oceans. There are four named major oceans, which are the Atlantic, which is near us, the Pacific, which is over near California, the Indian Ocean, which is near India, and the Arctic. Um, Technically, though, they're all connected and they're all one global ocean. Okay. So the ocean is very, very big and very, very deep. And it's divided into four levels from the layer we swim in to the layer where it's so dark and so cold and there's so much pressure we can't reach it without special equipment. These layers are called the sunlight zone, the twilight zone, the midnight zone, and the trench zone. Okay. Sunlight is where we primarily swim, where the fish we mostly know are up here. The sun can pass through here. The next one, the twilight zone, things are getting colder, deeper. Um, there's a lot of pressure. You start to see some interesting animals, creatures. The midnight zone, there's no light whatsoever. It's very, very, very dark. Lots of pressure, very, very cold. And then the trench zone, which is the very bottom of the ocean. All right. So the sunlight zone is the most recognizable zone to humans. Sunlight can penetrate up to about 1,000 feet in the clearest seawater, though there is rarely any significant light beyond 600 feet, close to 700 feet. So plants grow in this zone, and water temperatures are pretty warm. They're life sustainable. It doesn't get super duper cold until you go beyond the sunlight zone. And then more than 90% of all marine life lives in the sunlight zone. So that's where you find the majority of the fish and the jellyfish and sharks, sea fish, coral, clams, that kind of stuff. So here's a list of some of the creatures you'll find in the sunlight zone. Plankton is important because that's what bigger fish eat. You find sea stars or starfish, jellyfish and sea urchins. Um, Sea urchins usually live in the coral. You'll find your sea turtles, dolphins, seals. Now, if you look, these are animals, the dolphins, the sea turtles, um, seals, they breathe air, okay? So they have to come up to the surface. So it would make sense that they would be in the zone that is the closest to the surface. You have your sharks who eat the critters that are closer to the surface, stingrays, sand dollars, and of course, fish. And humans. This is where humans hang out. We fish here, we swim here, we, do our human stuff here. The next zone is the Twilight Zone, not to be confused with that TV show. Nothing weird's going on here. Not going to wake up with pig face or gremlins on the airplane. So in the Twilight Zone, the animals that live in the Twilight Zone must be able to survive cold temperatures, an increase in water pressure, and dark waters. Here's where things start to get squishy, okay? Things that live here have to deal with heavy pressure. So things start to get squishy, okay? Because if you have a lot of bones and all that pressure is pushing you down and squishing you, it's not good for your body. Okay. There are no plants in this zone because there's not enough light for photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is how plants, you know, eat and stuff. They take the sun in, and they use the sun to power themselves. So most fish in the zone don't chase food. They either stalk it or they wait for it to float or swim by. So they like to just hang around. Oh, here comes a bite. Nom. Oh, here comes a bite. Nom. They don't like chase it like sharks do. Some animals that live in this zone make their own light with bioluminescence. That's a big word for you. We'll talk about that more, but here's an example of bioluminescence. Okay. See how the jellyfish lights up, and that's basically to attract prey. You have fish in this area, like the lanternfish, that hangs its little light and wiggles it around just like bait. And something comes to check it out, and there's your dinner. So in the twilight zone, you have some animals. Now, these animals, I want you to look at and think about what they look like. We're going to talk more about each zone in depth in the coming days, but if you look at these animals, octopus, squid, cuttlefish, they're squishy. They don't have bones per se. They have bendable cartilage and muscle and ligaments. So they're able to squish and squeeze, and the pressure doesn't affect them as much. You also have some deep diving whales, which, because of their body mass, can handle the pressure. Swordfish, hatchetfish, and viperfish. Now, viperfish are cool. I put this little blurb here. Viperfish stay between 250 to 5,000 feet during the day. So they kind of hang out in the sunlight zone and a little bit in the twilight zone. They're like kind of just, do around. But at night, they go up. So during the day, when things are, hopping and bopping and whatever, they tend to just hang out where it's dark, deep. But then during the night, they come up to the surface when it's dark and catch the things that need the light to see. They're pretty sneaky. The midnight zone. So no sunlight reaches this zone. It's very cold and the water pressure is very high. Animals tend to be translucent or white. And we talked about translucent when we talked about light energy, right? So translucent is something that you can see through. You can see a little bit through, right? Wait, no, translucent is clear. You can see through the animal. So like animals down here are see-through. You can see their organs, you can see their lungs, you can see their eyes, you can see everything through these amazing creatures. Or they are white because down there's no light. So they've adapted. Many of these animals are soft bodies. There's the squishies again, which allows them to absorb pressures which might injure or kill other species. Many of the creatures in the zone survive by eating organic material which drifts down through the depths. So when something dies or something comes off of, like someone was eating kelp and the kelp floated down, that's what they eat. Others actually feed off the earth itself, consuming bacteria produced from the methane and sulfides seeping through the ocean floor. So some of the creatures eat the nutrients in the soil, just like a worm would or a plant would. They eat what they can pull out of the soil. So down here you'll see lanternfish. Now, lanternfish, I thought this was a fun fact, are also known for their vertical migration, which is the same as the viperfish. So during daylight hours, most of the species remain in the midnight zone between 980 feet and 4,920 feet. But around sundown, they rise up to the sunlight zone. And the reason they do that is, again, to attract the fish that can't, that need sunlight to survive. So lanternfish have those little blobbers things, those little like lures, and they swim up to the sunlight zone and they go, and fish come investigate, and then their dinner. You also have anglerfish, snipefish, or I'm sorry, snipe eels, lizardfish, and sea cucumbers. I don't know if you've ever seen a sea cucumber. When we talk more about the midnight zone, we'll talk more about these critters. But the sea cucumber is like this giant blob of like mushy snot. No, not the blobfish. Like snot, like just this tube of bleh. And it's got little things that do this and they catch nutrients out of the water. It's really weird and really gross. Finally, we have the trench zone. So the trench zone is the deepest trenches in the ocean. The biggest one is called the Mariana Trench, and it is very, 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 very deep. In fact, we're really not sure what's down there because humans can't go down there. We don't have the technology just yet to send a human down there. There's too much pressure, too much water, and it's really cold. Okay. So this zone is found from 20,000 feet to the bottom of the ocean. Most life is sustained by marine snow. I know, snow in the ocean, or chemical reactions around hydrothermal vents. So a hydrothermal vent is this area of the ocean where hot water is coming up through the actual Earth's crust, and it's creating these like weird um these weird uh like hot bubbling pools, and this water is super duper hot. So the life that you find down there usually tends to hang out near the vents. Things you find down here are mussels, crabs, tube worms, and your favorite viperfish. Okay? So I want to show you, see if I can make this bigger. Okay, so here is a simple drawing of the ocean, okay, and the different layers. We usually hang out as humans when we go to the beach. We hang out in this thing called the continental shelf, okay? Most ocean life is found in coastal waters due to inputs of nutrients from rivers or land runoff. So the sunlight zone right here is about 660 feet, okay, to about 1,000 feet. So where you're going to see the sea creatures that we mostly associate with the ocean is in the sunlight zone. Okay, so here's your whales, your turtles, your fishes, your coral reef, which we'll talk about too. You have your plankton, stingrays, sharks, and they're in this area right here. Okay, and then you come down a little bit to about 4,000, or I'm sorry, 13,000 feet, and that's the twilight zone. Okay, the twilight zone, a little bit of sun hits, not that much. You start finding more squishy animals like octopus, squid, jellyfish, um, things that don't have a whole lot of bones to weigh them down and to crush them. Going down further, you're in the midnight zone. Okay. Midnight zone, there is no light that's reaching here. You're going to find animals that are translucent or white. They live off of stuff that filters down, as well as other random stuff coming out of the ground. And then down here is a trench, okay? So the trenches are very dark, very deep, very cold, lots and lots of pressure, okay? The things you find down here are very basic type animals in that they need to live off of the organic stuff. They need to live off what's near the thermal vents and things like that. Okay, so that's just a basic a basic overview of what we're talking about with the ocean. Okay, so the takeaway from today is there are um, four major layers of the ocean: sunlight zone, the twilight zone, the midnight zone, and the trench zone. And if you think about it, as in the sunlight zone is where you get the most light, twilight zone is the next one, and it's kind of like dusk. Okay, the sun's setting. Midnight zone, if you think about it, midnight, there's no light, sun has set, it's dark, it's the darkest time of night. And then finally, the trench zone, which is the deepest, darkest time. Okay? If you remember it by a sun setting, you'll remember the different zones. Okay? All right, my friends. Tomorrow we'll talk about the sunlight zone and talk about some of the critters we're going to find in there. Okay? Have a great day. I miss